From the News Channel 5 Network, this is MorningLine.
Good morning, everyone. Nick Barris here. How are you doing? It's MorningLine on this Tuesday. A good show on tap for you. Invite you, as always, to join in the conversation. That's what's great. This is an interactive program. Me, my guest, and you. We'll get the phone number up there in a moment. What we're going to talk about is arguably one of the 2 or 3 hottest areas in the country. This city of Nashville and the surrounding areas where you all live is where everyone else seems to want to live. They're moving here from big cities like Los Angeles and Denver, and they want to come here. And there's a lot of good reasons for that. That certainly has an impact economically and on our real estate. Where you're living, are you renting? Do you have a home? Are you looking to buy? We like to do this program periodically because I think it's as important here as any place in the country talking about real estate. And you see the real estate market, 737-7587. We're going to talk about it with our guest, and we're going to take your phone calls if you want to inquire about where to buy, how to sell, what's hot, what's not. We'll get into all that. Yes, you remember Real Estate Real Talk. Who doesn't? Who doesn't? But now she's on MorningLine. Christy Wilson is hanging with us this morning, realtor extraordinaire.
Good morning. So happy to be here. So happy to be here.
And listen, she's busy, and she's here because she likes me. She could have said no to Mary Elena. You could have.
I would never say no to Mary Elena.
I take that back.
Or
you could have said.
I would have said no. I would never say no to you.
I've got plans this morning. And we were talking before the show about how really good realtors who are busy all the time, you know, I mean, you could be busy in the morning, evening, middle of the night, middle of the day, right?
We're pretty busy all time right now. President
and CEO of the Wilson Group. And I thought, who better to talk to just about the market here? And again, the numbers on the screen if you want to talk. But okay, am I right? I'm trying to get a handle on it. What are the hottest cities? I think there was another story, yet another one, talking about East Nashville as being one of the hottest real estate,
micro markets
in the country.
Right.
Where does Nashville rank, do you think? I guess I've heard Denver's pretty hot. I don't know what others.
Denver, Austin, Charlotte. Okay. Tampa, we're neck and neck with Tampa on a lot of real estate activity.
And is that that's based on people moving into the area, or just real estate activity, things being bought and sold?
Several things. People moving into the area, the growth of the city, the housing numbers, the number of closings, the amount of inventory, the absorption rate of how things are selling.
And what is it that drives it, you think? What makes people want to come here? I mean, I think I know some of the answers to that, but what drives the burgeoning real estate market here?
I would say a 70-degree day like today.
Oh, yeah. The weather's certainly part of it,
right? Well, the weather.
Economics?
Economics are huge. There's no state income tax. We're a large place for retirees to come.
Oh, that's...
The job market is so diverse here. Okay. You know, we don't rely on one particular thing. Manufacturing is huge in the car market, the automotive market, the music business, the healthcare, and the entrepreneurial spirit of Nashville. A lot of entrepreneurs are coming here because they know it's a great place to start a company.
Right.
And raise a family. Quality of life is amazing.
Education is good as well, right? I mean, so those are the kind of things people look for when they come here. Now, as a result of this, and I'm not just talking about downtown where you see some of the prices on these amazing condos, they're so expensive. Real estate prices, is it a buyer or seller's market here?
It's definitely a seller's market.
Right. Okay. Seller's market, meaning that, of course, if you want to stay here and you want to sell your house, that's great. You get good money for it. But then you want to buy another one and you're going to pay a lot for it, right?
That's the problem we have right now. Or I shouldn't say problem. It's a challenge we have in Nashville right now. So there's a lot of people who do want to sell their house, but there's not anything on the market that they want to buy, or the prices have gotten so high, even though they're going to get a lot of money for their house, what they're going to buy is so expensive.
Unless you want to move to North Dakota.
Perhaps, yeah.
See, if you sell your place here and you just move to Iowa and you get all the money for the house here, because in the old days I would have thought now, you know, let's say when I moved here back in '95, just before I did, I remember the LA Times had a big article and there was a picture of one of the bridges downtown in Nashville, and it talked about the exodus from Los Angeles to Nashville, and I think it was driven some degree again by the music industry, but a lot of very successful, wealthy people in LA were selling their Bel Air mansions and moving here with all that money and buying spectacular homes and having lots of cash left over. It's not as much the case now. I mean, if you sell something in LA, and yeah, I know if you're living on the beach in San Diego, you're going to get millions for your place. But if you're inland there and you sell that, that same money is going to get you probably the same type of house.
You're exactly right. And that's a big shocker. When people move to Nashville.
LA, it must be cheaper in Nashville.
I was talking to a gentleman who has moved here from Sacramento.
Okay.
And all of his friends said, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. You're going to sell your house for so much here. It's so cheap. cheap in the South. You know, I'm surprised he thinks we wear shoes.
Yeah,
But
yeah, exactly.
And he came in, he's going, y'all are very similar to what Sacramento was. And he's like, the restaurants are more expensive. He said, but the restaurants are better.
Okay.
The traffic is as bad. You know, he
Yeah.
said, but it is a much more friendly place and it's an easier community.
Okay, but it's not as though he could take the money from the sale of his home there and come here and say, wow, what a
Right
steal.
on, right on. And I think that's most places people are coming to Nashville and they're in sticker shock. And even going out to the outer tiers. I mean, a lot of times it used to be, well, you can go out to the third ring, like a Smyrna or Murfreesboro,
Mount Juliet.
Spring Hill, Mount Juliet. Those are expensive.
Oh yeah, that's where I live, and now you know you cannot find a home for a single family, or if there's a person who wants to get a place on their own for less than $200,000 now in some of those places.
Right, and that's one thing
Unless
where
the
Nashville sort of is. We're in a huge challenge in the affordable housing sector.
On that note, I don't know how you feel about this, but I know that I think they were looking at the state level legislation. You know how when they're building big condo units and such, some cities can require, yeah, we'll give you the permit and you can build your big thing and you can sell them for $1 million each, but you need to set aside a couple of units for more affordable housing within the building. And I understand the state is looking, and there's a piece of legislation to say, no, you cannot. Was it the city?
It's the city.
They cannot mandate that, and that, yeah, the developer, you can build it and sell them all. I mean, I always like the idea of having some. Doesn't mean they're going to be cheap or given away, but that you make a few units that are smaller that you set aside that can still accommodate someone who's not making a six-figure salary, and they want to take that away. And I understand free enterprise. What do you think of that?
Well, it's a slippery slope. If you remember when the Viridian was built down here on Church Street,
Yeah.
Let's see, Road 9.2, I think that's what it was called, over in Germantown. Those were done in 2004, 5, and that was called TIF-funded condos.
Okay.
So tax incremental funding.
Yeah,
and so
I think that's
that there were incentives for the builders to do that, to leave a certain amount of units
Meaning
affordable.
if you did do that, you got incentives.
That's correct.
Okay.
And they're deed restricted, so when it resells, they have to continue to be within the
Right, meaning
affordable
someone
market.
could not get into one of those and then sell it at the price,
at the
which
market
I
rate.
understand
Yeah.
that. That made sense. Yeah.
And I think the restrictions have actually fallen off of those now. I think it was deed restricted for 10, 12 years, something like
Okay.
that. But right now, the conversation that's on the table at the Planning Commission is something called inclusionary zoning, where it would force a developer to develop a certain percentage of the properties into affordable units. It got voted down at the Planning Commission. It's gone to Metro Council. We'll see what happens with it. It wasn't a great suggestion that they came up with. I mean, the Planning Commission of Metro debated it for, I was at that meeting, good night. It was about 3.5 hours. They discussed it on what to do with it, and it's tricky. It's very tricky. It's something's got to be done. But how do you do it? Because one of the great things about being American is home ownership and building equity in what you buy and being able to sell it for a profit.
Right.
That's the goal.
That's the American dream. I understand. Just for everyone who lives that, you think, and it's also capitalism. You build it, you can sell it for what you can get for it. And so placing limits with the government, I see how some people maybe squirm under that. But at the same time, with all the growth of business down here, I mean, I'd like to think that some of the people that work downtown can live downtown. And I'm not talking about the bank executive. I'm talking about some of the service industry workers or some of the other people that maybe aren't making huge salaries. I would like to think that some of them could find a way to work here so they don't have to always commute from Smyrna, Laverne, which is not bad. I'm just saying, though, living here. And nowadays,
I agree. I agree 100%.
Yeah, unless we get mass transit, it's just,
It's a circle.
Yeah,
it's a circle. Housing, transit, education, values, it goes like this. Transit is a huge piece to this puzzle.
Yeah.
People wouldn't mind living so far out, they can just jump on a train and get there.
Yeah, and that's a whole other subject, because that will really open up the area. But God, that's so expensive to build. Let's take a call before we take our first break.
Okay.
And we've got some lines open. All of you get to us, 737-7587. We'll go to Ann. Good morning, Ann.
Good morning.
Hey.
I own 4 properties in East Nashville. They're not slum properties, and no, I'm not interested in selling any of these properties.
You knew what my next question was.
Are under constant siege of phone calls and letters. My husband and I have personally done everything we can to stop this. What can we do? We notified by phone and letter particular contractors and builders, and when we block numbers, they use another one.
Wait, are you talking about, I'm just so I'm clear, you understand this,
Yeah.
but you're talking about people soliciting wanting to buy your properties?
Yeah.
They keep. Let me just ask you this. I'm curious, and I understand, you own these, and is there a reason you don't want to sell them? Is it because you're depending on them as valuable rental properties?
Well, no, one we live in, one is a family property. Our children would be heartbroken if we sold. Two are properties that we use as rental property, and that's going to be our retirement.
There you go. Well, I mean, why not? Sure.
Yeah.
So you're just frustrated that they keep coming to you. I guess that's not a bad problem to have, but after a while you get tired of it.
We get tired of it. The phone calls are daily. We have contacted these people in person, by letter, by certified letter. We've done everything we can. And like I said, we've done it by phone. We've blocked numbers. They use a different line. It's ridiculous.
That's an interesting. Hey, listen, I'm going to put you on hold, Ann, while we answer, and I'd actually like to get your phone number because I might even do a story with you on that. That's very interesting.
Not
about
the only one in East Nashville.
Exactly, and maybe we can help you put a stop to it. But stay on hold. Ann's on line 1. We'll see if we can get your number. But Christy, what do you think?
That happens. It's happening everywhere. I own rental property as well. I constantly get the letters, the phone calls.
So what are they?
people-
These are builders. And now, there's nothing wrong with someone
developers,
inquiring, saying, "Hey,
people.
we like your property. Would you be willing to sell?"
Right,
Now, I
right.
guess if you just keep getting it over and over again, but they're not supposed to heavy-hand you. They just ask, right?
So, well, some are very heavy-handed, and if you're, so I'm in the business, so it's easy for me to brush them off. If they're interfering with your daily life, which it sounds like it is with her, that can be a very clearly a very annoying and obnoxious thing, and I don't know the answer to that. I mean, I would just ignore it. I throw the letters away. I don't even open them. I just say not interested. Thank you very much, not interested, and you just have to not get emotional with them, just say thank you, not interested. And Ann may be doing that. I don't know, but until the market cools, she will probably still get that. That's what developers and builders do. They just keep trying to go after properties that they think are going to be good ones to tear down.
That's what they look for.
That's what they're looking
could
for.
she just set some outrageous price?
No, because a lot of times they'll pay it right now. I am amazed at what people pay for property. I threw an outrageous price and someone said, well, let me think on it. And I'm like, no, I don't want to sell. My rental property is income for my future.
Yes.
Right?
Sure.
So if I get X dollars amount for this property, where are you going to put it? Are you going to buy more expensive real estate?
When you say that is interesting, and it harkens me back to 2006-07. Is there any sign, and I know there's been new regulations put in place now and all of that, but any sign of artificial bubbles being formed anywhere?
Oh my
where
gosh.
If you're throwing that out and they're willing to buy it, that's great. But at some point, as you just said, it's going to cool. So what do you think?
Have you seen the movie The Big Short?
Oh yeah.
Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
What a great movie.
I cried in that.
Yeah.
I mean, I look back to that was 10 years ago when all of this was doing, and it feels the same right now. I think 2016 feels a lot like 2006, with the exception we're not going to have a mortgage crisis.
Right, because the securities
meltdown
are being regulated now as they should have been back then.
Well, I don't know if securities are, but the mortgage industry
and the mortgage industry and all of that. I guess you're right. The mortgages, that should insulate us to some degree, right? That's not.
You never know, but I don't think we're going to have a foreclosure crisis. It was a foreclosure crisis with everyone losing their homes,
that's right.
And because of all the bad loans, and now
the
federal
arms and all of that. Yeah,
the arms,
that's right. That's what it is.
I mean, we sold them all the time. 0 down payment, no documentation. All you had to have was a social security number and a stated income. They didn't even verify income. So it was a house of cards.
That maybe has changed. But aside from that, that's really interesting. You see that I agree with you. I saw the movie, and some of that I see today where they're willing to pay such outrageous prices for what is a very hot market, but it's going to cool. And at some point, someone's going to buy at the very highest, and that's going to cool, and you're going to lose.
Well, a correction in real estate is always imminent. It's just business cycles. It goes up, it cools, it comes down. What we did in 07, 08 was come up and then come down. And again, Nashville came down, but not the way some of the other markets did that are still struggling to come back. I mean, we're very, very fortunate. We've exceeded our 2006, which was our high. But I do see a leveling coming off. I just think the prices have gotten so high, it's very hard to sustain those type of values.
Yeah.
Because sooner or later you price everybody out of the market.
I know. And it's not to say, too, by the way, you can't buy a house. Well, rent isn't cheap for apartments. We'll get into that.
Okay, there's so much to talk about.
Let's take a break.
We only have an hour.
We will. Right, we've got an hour, and we've got more calls coming in for Christy as well. If you want to jump in, and that was an interesting call from that woman. I think I'll give her a call. The number 737-7587 if you want to call us here. We'll be back talking more real estate right after this.